Hi, I'm Don. Welcome to my studio. Today we paint this Cthulhu from CMON Games. This is just a quick commissioned work for Geekolodian Studios. We are not painting the smaller figure that came in the box set, but we're painting just the Cthulhu. Did I pronounce that right? Primed with Vallejo Surface Primer as usual, now we do dry brush. I'm kinda enjoying this dry brushing plus color glazing the past few models cause it's kinda like doing the job well. Also, since I have a ton of airbrushing tutorials already, so I thought I make like videos more accessible or accessible to more people by not using the airbrush. I got a comment at Facebook like a few months ago that I use a lot of paints, too much paints when I do dry brushing. But if you treat dry brushing like layering, you kinda produce really good results. So basically, let's call it dry layering because you're like layering in terms of like painting less and less colors as you go lighter or less and less areas as you paint lighter colors but via dry brushing. You could actually finish this model by mostly dry brushing, but we're going to abandon the dry brushing after in a while because we're going to dry brush a lighter color. I think I chose pale gray sea blue something, and it's going to look really dusty now because we jumped to a very light color far from the medium olive that we used. Now we're using pale sea gray. It's a very bluish or greenish light gray color, and as you can see, the texture or the finish is very dusty. It's very rough because we jumped to a very light color. However, this made the model pop really well. Now we do filtering or lazy wash. Basically, this is to soften our dry brushing and blend all of the dry brushed colors together and make the surface a bit smoother. Also, this lazy wash, which is a lime greenish color, is going to be our base color for this model. We chose inks for the lazy wash because it's not going to dry into a foggy finish, and also we added glaze medium to soften the ink so that we don't create really harsh watermarks. Now I was sleepy, so let's apply a bit of water texture. Do not apply more than like 3mm thick. I'm applying around 1 to 2mm thick water texture and we'll let it dry overnight. The water texture paints and like the other ground texture paints of Vallejo is a very convenient way of adding really quick, nice basing for your models. I have 10-year-old paints, texture paints here, and they're still workable, they're still good. You just need to thin them a bit with thinner because they're thicker than brand new paints.
That's good.
The texture paint is now cured. Now we do ivory underpainting. You could use white paint, of course. I'm just kinda scared to use like very sharp or harsh colors like white, black, and stuff like that. So we're going with ivory. For yellows and reds, like this one, we're going to paint the tentacles and the eyes and like the suckers at the back with a bit of red paint. So we need an underpainting or undercoat because if you do not, it won't like register as much as you want. Now we paint beige red over the ivory. You don't really have to do this, or you could use medium flesh or any flesh tone color. But we're using this, or we're painting beige red over the ivory because if we don't paint beige red, once we paint the red inks or red colors later, it's going to be really vibrant and it's going to be too red. What I mean is that you could skip either the ivory earlier or this beige red. I am pretty sure that ivory is more opaque than beige red though. That's why we painted ivory first. Now we paint more water texture, transparent water texture. This will simply add depth to our base or our water effects base. And as we do more color glazing, this will naturally dry up. Now we do more color glazing, but first we need to paint the magenta parts or the red parts of the model. We usually use red inks, but for this one, let's use transparent red. I highly recommend you at least mix like 2 parts paint and 1 part glaze medium, or even like more paints like 3 parts paint and 1 part glaze medium, because 1:1 ratio will be too transparent and it's kind of boring, and also it will waste your time. I applied around 2 thin coats of the glaze red. It's, well, transparent red plus glaze medium here. And then we're going to do glazing of other colors. The lime green will add more volume or more contrast to our model. Also some turquoise, which will add a bit more depth to the green skin color, and some violet red shadows. So these colors are not necessary to finish the model, but like I say in my other videos, the more colors or the more paints you use in a model, the more interesting the model will look. We are not going for a Serio Calvo level painting here, but I highly recommend you add more colors so that the model looks a bit like a low-res version of Serio's work. I finished this model in around 4 to 5 hours. I can paint this faster, but I'm aiming for a pretty good finish, but at the same time not spend too much time on this model. Now we apply the foam effects paint. I highly recommend this paint. It's kind of weird. It's not white paint. It's not putty. It's weird, but it's nice. So we're just adding this to add a bit more interest to our basing. This paint is the same paint we use on the Hellboy base. Now it's a matter of adding more shadows and shades with inks, and then we're going to add a bit more highlights with like lighter colors, and then we're done. Now we're done, and I hope I showed you again that dry brushing and glazing works together really well. So basically, you create a bit of volume. We start with dry brushing to create a bit of volume, and then as you get lighter with the dry brushing, we then soften the very rough, dusty texture of the dry brush with glazing. Also key here, much like my other glazing videos, is the glaze medium, because it's so much easier to do glazing with mediums. Of course, you could do glazing with just water, but thinning or like glazing with just water and paint adds surface tension, and it's called tension for a reason. So kidding aside, I do recommend using mediums when doing color glazing. That's it, we're done. I hope you liked the video. Do like, comment, subscribe, and consider joining the channel so that you'll be part of our Discord community. Saludos!